everybody, it's the Warhipster here coming at you with another Contrast Plus painting tutorial, and today we are painting the Stormstrike Palladors. Yes, here they are. I really like these guys. I think they look absolutely fantastic, and Games Workshop have been very kind and have sent them to me early to build up and paint with all of you. Now, today we're going to be painting up all three of the Stormstrike Palladors. Here's one, here's the other, and here is the third as well, but I've only got one painting handle. But what we're going to do is we're going to do three different recipes for the Gryphs, then we're going to do the Riders, but they are all going to be in the Hammers of Sigmar. But we're going to paint the entirety of the Gryphs first, and we'll get them kind of fully finished, and then we'll do the Riders all as a single thing. So, colour we're going to be using first is Seraphim Sepia, and they've all been primed in Wraithbone. I'm not sure if I've already mentioned that. And we're going to be applying this over the top of all of the Gryph's smooth skin, of which there's actually really just the hind legs and the tummy with which to worry about. So we're going to get that all over, like so. And then once that's done, we'll come back with the next one. So with that all done on our first Pallador, we're then in exactly the same manner going to use Dreadful Visage over the top of this one's skin. And with that Dreadful Visage applied over that one's skin, for our third Pallador, we're going to use Gryph-Charger Grey. Drop your brush. Well, that's a first in a video. So with that all done, on our third Stormstrike Pallador, we're going to pop it to one side and we're going to go back to our original one that we did with Seraphim Sepia. And we're going to use a roughly 2 parts Lahmian Medium to 1 part Gore-Grunta Fur mix. And we're going to apply this over the top of the tail and the hair. However, what we're going to do is we're going to apply it over the kind of top of the tail like that. Then we're going to wash the brush, touch off the water, and then along here we're just going to give it the blends just like that sort of thing. And we'll do it on the other side as well, just for posterity. And because we need to. Check the other side to make sure we didn't have any overlaps, but it looks like we're all good. Then what we're going to do is we're going to apply this over the top of the hairs down here on the legs. Like that. And again on the other side. Like so. And then what we want to do is you want to apply this around the bottom of the leg up to around about there, and again on the other side. And then once again, wash the brush, touch off the water, and then just give it a little blend. Like so. And then the easy bit is where we apply this over the top of the entirety of the front, excluding the beak. So with that all done on our first Gryph, pop it to one side. We're then on our second Gryph, the dreadful Visage individual. What we're going to do is we're going to take a roughly 2 parts Lahmian Medium to 1 part Volupus Pink mix, and we're going to do effectively the exact same thing. And what we're going to do here is we're actually just going to apply that much over the tail, wash the brush, touch off the water, give it the blends, do the other side, wash the brush, touch off the water, and give it the blends, and then very carefully I'm going to pick out the hairs. However, if you need to, you can always wash the brush, touch off the water, and then just gently give it a little bit of a blend like that. But otherwise, we're going to do the exact same thing on the other details that we did with the Gore-Grunta Fur. And so for the third time, what we're going to do, well, this is what the Volupus Pink one looks like. Pop that to one side. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a roughly 2 parts Lahmian Medium to 1 part Akhelian Green mix on our third Gryph, and in exactly the same way, we're going to apply this over the top of him or her. So with that all done, what we're then going to do is go back to our first one. And we're going to take a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Gore-Grunta Fur and Blood Angels Red. I'm going to use this to blend the tail. So we're going to go down just like that. Wash the brush. Touch off water. Give blend. Do the same thing on the other side. Wash brush. Touch off water. Give blend. But then what we're also going to do here is we're going to apply this over the top of the front feathers. Much like that. Then we're going to wash the brush. And give it the blends there on the front. And then we do the same thing on this side. Wash the brush. So you get a nice little kind of blend round to the front. And then we're going to apply this over the top of the legs. So with that all done, we're then on our next one going to take a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Shyish Purple and Lahmian Medium. I'm going to do the same thing on this Gryph. And so with that done, you know the drill by now. What we're going to do is we're going to take up our third Gryph, and we're going to use a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Lahmian Medium and Ultramarines Blue. Lahmian Medium is such a useful paint for just improving the drying time of these contrast paints. Whilst we're doing all this blending. And I can only apologise that there is this much blending. But don't worry. There's only one more left to go after this. So with that all done, what we're then going to do across all three of them is we're going to take some Black Templar. I'm going to apply this over the top of their front legs, and this is our last blend that we're talking about. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start down here by the toes, and we're going to bring this up like so. Just want to get it nice and covered over the top of the bottoms of the legs first. Perfect. So what we're going to do is going to bring this up to around about halfway up the foreleg, like that. Wash the brush, touch off the water, and then just give it the blend. Like so. So with that all done, you should have 3 absolutely lovely Gryph-Chargers. I think they look fantastic. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do something a little bit more generic, and this is going to be across all 3 of them. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some Black Legion, and we're going to apply this over the top of the talons, the hooves, the beaks, and the eyes. So with that Black Legion all applied, what we're now going to do is we're going to add some highlights, and these are going to be dry brushes. So the first of these is going to be some Dawnstone, and we're going to very gently dry brush this over the top of the black feet. And we're going to do this across all 3. And so with that now done, on our first Gryph, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Wraithbone. We're going to very gently, in a circular motion, dry brush this across the muscles. Like that. On our pinky specimen, we're going to do the same thing, only this time we're going to use some Pallid Witch Flesh. And finally, on our third Gryph, we're going to use some Fenrisian Grey to do exactly the same thing. Back to our first Gryph, what we're going to do is going to take some Deathclaw Brown and we're going to dry brush this now over the top of all the hairs. And again, we're just being really gentle here. And for our next individual, we're going to use some Slaanesh Grey. To do exactly the same thing. And finally, we're going to take some Templar Blue. I'm going to do this across this individual. With those dry brushes applied, we're then going to take a teeny little dot of Flash Gets Yellow. I'm going to apply this in the corners of the eyes. That Flash Gets Yellow applied exclusively to this one, we're going to take a small amount of Volupus Pink. I'm just going to apply this over the top of the tongue. Like that. With that all done, going back to Dawnstone one more time, what we're going to do is going to use this to highlight all of the talons and the claws and the beaks. So with that all done, our Gryph-Chargers are now all finished. So they're looking pretty cool. So what it's time to do now is move on and work on all the rest of the details. And well, that is exactly what we're going to be doing. So the first colour we're going to be using is Talassar Blue. Now this is unusual because normally with Hammers of Sigmar we would start with the gold. However, there is a lot of blue here in places that are extra to what we would normally do on the man. So we're going to be applying this Talassar Blue over the top of the outside of all of the saddle blankets and this kind of heraldic stuff. We'll be applying it over the top of the chest plate of the Gryph. We're going to apply it over the top of the shoulder and the tilting plate, the field of the shield, the field of the banner, and the outside of the cloaks. There's a lot of blue on these, hence why we're starting with it. So with all of that Talassar Blue applied, we're then going to take some Ultramarines Blue and we're going to apply this over the top. So with that Ultramarines Blue all applied, we're now going to take some thinned down Retributor armour and we're going to apply this over the top of all of the gold details. And well, I would recommend having the box art in front of you for this because there is a lot of gold, as you'd expect from the Hammers of Sigmar. So with all of that Retributor armour now applied, what we're going to do is we're going to shade it all. And we're going to use a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Lahmian Medium and Fyreslayer Flesh to do this. And we just want to really kind of get it all on there. Like this. We only really need to be careful around the Gryph, but otherwise we should be fine. But as always, just take your time. Move methodically through the model so as not to miss bits. So with all of that Fyreslayer Flesh shading now applied, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Wyldwood and we're just going to apply this over the top of the pelts. So with that all done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Blood Angels Red and we're going to apply this over 3 different areas. And these are going to be one, the plume on the helmet. The other is going to be the reins of each of our Gryphs. And the third is going to be the grips on all the weapons and standards. Things like that. So with that all done, our next colour is going to be some Cygor Brown, and we're going to apply this over top of all of the leather on the Gryphs. Don't worry about the stuff on the rider. We're just going for the mounts at the moment. And with all that Cygor Brown applied, we're then going to take some Black Legion and we're going to apply this over top of the boots, the joints, the straps on the rider. As well as the interiors of the shield. So with that all done, we're then going to take some Skeleton Horde and we're going to apply this over top of all of the parchment. Like this. And so with that all done, we're then going to take some thinned down Iron Warriors and we're going to apply this over top of all of our remaining metallic areas. So we've got things like sword blades and lances and stuff like that if you've built them. However, one thing to just note is essentially everything that remains after is going to eventually be white, but a lot of it's covered in mistakes. Now, if you were to want to just kind of stick to a battle ready standard, you would want to go in now and kind of tidy up all of those areas with some Wraithbone. Before we do the colour that we're going to do. However, I'm not going to do that because, well, a lot of it can just be corrected when we do its next layer after. So things like the inside of the cloak, the inside of the fabric on the gryphs, the twin-tailed comets here, the face, the bit here on the tilting shield, these lightning bolts and stuff on this shield, we're just going to leave those because those are all going to be white. But you'll see what I mean. In just a moment. So with that all done, we're now going to take some Nuln Oil. I'm going to use this to shade the silver, and we're going to use this over the top of those previously mentioned what will be white details. So with that all done, our Stormstrike Palladors are now what I would call a Warhipster battle ready, and they're looking pretty cool. However, we're of course not going to leave them there. No, we've got a few things left to do. We're going to take them to the next level, and we're going to do this by adding some layers and some highlights. Now the first one we're going to start with is in fact going to be the white, because it's going to make them feel a little bit more completed. And the colour we're going to be using for all of that white is some thinned down Corax white. And we're just going to be using this to relayer all of our white details all the way around all of our models. Just avoiding any of the deepest, darkest recesses. So with all that Corax white applied, it's now looking a lot tidier, a lot brighter, and a lot neater, which is great. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a similar thing to another colour, and that's all the gold. We're going to take some thinned down Retributor armour here, and we're going to relayer this over the top of all of our flat open parts of the gold. Now don't worry about any kind of trimmy bits or congested bits. Instead, we're just looking to reapply some shininess to the largest pieces. Like that sort of thing. Although there is a slight exception to the rule here, in that this is quite a large piece of trim. So we are just going to reapply the Retributor armour like that. So with all of that Retributor armor reapplied, what we're now going to do is we're going to take a roughly 2 parts Stormhost Silver to 1 part Retributor armor mix, and we're going to use this to highlight all of our gold. So with all that gold now highlighted, it is now finished. So what we can do is move on. I'm going to move on to all of the blue, and the colour we're going to be using to highlight this is some thinned down Hoeth blue. And so with all that Hoeth blue applied, we're then going to take some thinned down Fenrisian Grey. I'm going to use this to add some little spot highlights to all the blue on the sharpest corners. So with that all done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Dawnstone, and we're going to use this to highlight the black details on the riders. So with that all done, we're then going to take some thinned down Cygor Brown. I'm going to use this to highlight the brown leather on the Gryphs. But what we're also going to do is going to use this to highlight the pelts on their shoulders. And with that Cygor Brown all applied, we're then going to take some thinned down Karak Stone. I'm going to use this to add a couple of little extra highlights to the pelts. Just as these kind of little spot highlights here and there, just add a little bit of extra visual interest. So with the pelts now all done, what we're going to do is we're going to take some thinned down white scar, and we're going to use this to highlight all of our white details. And so with that all done, we're now going to take some thinned down Ironbreaker. I'm going to use this to highlight all of the silver details. And so with that all done, we're now going to finish things off by taking some Blood Angels Red, and we're going to apply this over top of all of our gems. So we have these large round ones on the Twin Tail Comets. Like that. We have one on the helmet. Of our champion. Got this one here as well. Got little diamond ones. And so on and so forth. And so with their bases now complete, our Stormstrike Palladors are all finished. And I stand by what I said. I really like these guys. I just wish that they were a unit of 5 so we could have some more swords and lances involved. But it is what it is. I've already ordered a box. In fact, it turned up today. So, unit of 6, here we come. I'm looking forward to it. I might even do another video on them for some more Gryph recipes. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel and you'd like to support me further, you absolutely can do so by heading to patreon.com/warhipster, just like all of these wonderful amazing people have done. And alternatively, you could become a YouTube channel member by clicking on the join button below, exactly like these fabulous folks have done scrolling up on the screen before you. There are so many of you out there that it really takes my breath away, and I cannot thank you enough for everything you do, as without you I wouldn't be able to keep making these Contrast Plus videos. And if you really like this video and you want to send me a little thanks, just click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.